welcome to the Narrowing Path, Walking the Spiritual Walk. My name is Steve Van Einstein. Thank you all for joining me again today as we do today's daily reading from James Allen's Daily Meditations. And today it will be my first time reading it, so it will be fresh to you and fresh to me because this will be the first time I'm reading it right here on the podcast and first time hearing it, unlike yesterday where it closed and I had to re-record it again, doing it for the second time. So, and I again appreciate all of your understanding in the situation. So you'll get my genuine response reactions, my genuine observations, and what I relate to the reading. So I'm looking forward to it. I loved yesterday's. It was actually a fantastic reading, even though I got frustrated because of the whole situation. But um, yeah, it's talking about the constant practice, even though sometimes we're not where we want to be, right? It's important to be in constant practice of the principles, regardless of your situation. So I'm looking forward to today's. So let's go ahead and we'll get this started. And it looks like it's going to be a good one just by glancing at this first line. So here we go. This is August 18th reading of James Allen's Daily Meditations. Passion is not power. It is abuse of power. When that young man whom I knew, passing through the continual reverses and misfortunes, was mocked by his friends and told to desist from further effort, and he replied, "The time is not far distant when you will marvel at my good fortune and success." He showed that he was possessed of that silent, irresistible power which has taken him over innumerable difficulties and crowned his life with success. If you have not this power, you have acquired it. If you have not this power, you may acquire it by practice. And the beginning of power is likewise the beginning of wisdom. You must commence by overcoming those purposeless trivialities to which you have hitherto been a willing victim. Boisterous and uncontrolled laughter, slander and idle talk, and joking merely to raise a laugh. All these things must be put on one side as so much waste of valuable energy. Ooh, that's the last line. Be of single aim. Ooh. That's let me tell you, that's a hell of a reading. There's a lot. There's a lot in there. And what we're talking about is discipline in a lot of this, right? And it goes in and along with yesterday's reading about practicing the principles, practicing these virtues, right? This is discipline. It takes discipline to practice these things. And I love this reading. I absolutely love this reading. It talks about some really extremely important things here. And that opening line, passion is not power, it is the abuse of power. It's interesting because with passion, he's talking about emotional highs, right? He's talking about action based on emotion. So emotions are not power, it is the abuse of power because it drives us to take selfish actions based on emotion, right? You're angry and you take action. You're happy, you'll take action. You're joyful, you'll take action. It's acting impulsively. So it's abusing the power that you have and the influence that you might have accumulated. That's a perspective, I guess. That's a perspective I do agree with. Passion is not power. It's the abuse of power. Do you have to rely on emotional highs and emotional injections to fuel yourself to do things? You're going to have a bad time at the end of the day because it won't always be there. It won't. Simple fact, your passions will not always be there. And when they are there and you're functioning off them, it's usually selfish and self centered. So there you go. Painful understanding, but it's the truth. So, all right, now to the main body of this. When that young man, whom I knew, passing through continual reverses and misfortunes, so he was like things weren't going his way all the time. Things were, um, he was failing. Uh, things weren't working out. Was mocked by his friends and told to desist from further effort. So it's so funny because the terminology is just so different, but I mean, it says the same thing. Your friends are just telling you to stop, quit. What are you doing? Stop doing that. They had no belief in him. They thought he should just cut his losses and run. And he replied, "The time is not far distant when you will marvel at my good fortune and success." So he had a belief in what he was doing, that it was going to be successful, and he had the discipline to continue to practice it. And he didn't. I think the main point here, though, is going off of the first line that it opens with. He wasn't relying on things going his way to believe in what he was doing. He saw his failures. He saw the shortcomings, the letdowns, and he worked through them through discipline. He worked through them. He continued to take the right actions. He continued to do the right things and learned and grew and didn't just turn tail and run. He was a disciplined individual to continue to move forward. And he knew in the end, for some reason, he knew it would pay off, right? He just knew it was going to be worth his time eventually to do this. So it's funny. He was just telling them, "Don't. You're going to marvel at my good fortune eventually." Just because, which is it's kind of backhanded because good fortune meaning, oh, what good luck. The world is, the universe was kind to him, and he's saying, "I've worked for this. I've failed. I've gone through the necessary sacrifices to achieve. And when I get there, you'll look at me and say I was lucky." He showed that he was possessed of that silent and irresistible power which has taken him over innumerable difficulties and crowned his life with success. So I didn't quite, this wasn't my first thought, which I guess is odd, but my first thought was discipline, but we're also talking about faith here too, right? So discipline and faith. We've had a couple in the last week about faith. 3 days ago, 4 days ago was about faith, and it was really what I needed to hear. So quick am I to forget, right? Um, so be through through discipline and faith, that's where the power really is derived from. And discipline is the willingness to do the work and take the right actions and follow this way of living, right? So through those two things, they took him over innumerable difficulties and crowned his life with success. This is a man living a spiritual way of life. This is a man with a singleness of purpose and a direction with the correct energy and effort. It's a potent mix for success. So, if you have not this power, some people don't have it. You may acquire it by practice, discipline. You can learn to walk in faith. Faith is meant to be practiced. And the beginning of power is likewise the beginning of wisdom. And that's so true, right? Because when you start to learn these spiritual paths, these spiritual successes, when you start to grow in the spiritual way of living, you start to find power in your life. You start to gain power in yourself, and you start to gain wisdom at the same time, right? Because that's they occur simultaneously at the end of the day, which is pretty amazing because you start realizing where the power actually lies in life and prioritizing things differently. You must commence by overcoming those purposeless trivialities to which you have hitherto been a willing victim. So that's a good line right there. You must commence by overcoming those purposeless trivialities to which you have hitherto been a victim. So those selfish indulgences that we do, those things we do just for, they make us feel good. So we do them, but they serve no purpose and are a waste of time and energy. People are going to see that line as very strict. But the reality of it is, when you practice this way of life and you follow these types of guidelines, you'll find joy and happiness beyond measure. But we're so quick to judge and give up on these things. And now we have a list of things he's talking about: boisterous and uncontrolled laughter, slander and idle talk, and joking merely to raise a laugh. All these things must be put on one side as so much waste of valuable energy. So all of the time we spend just trying to make ourselves feel good, trying to make ourselves feel pleasure and force a feeling of contentment, all that has to stop. There's more important directions to take. There's more important uses and allocations of that energy. That's important to know. It's very important to know. It's not an easy thing to swallow. It's not an easy thing to digest or believe. At least it wasn't for me, because I do believe it, and I'm not perfect at it, but a lot of times I try to make use of my energy, of the time I have. I'm not one to waste time, really. Idle conversation, trivial conversation, um, gossip, I do not enjoy. Not a big fan of TV watching, things like that. Um, because I know time is limited, and I know that my joy in life is limitless if I just follow this way of life. So now this last line, I love it. Be of single aim. Choose a direction and go to it. Right? Singleness of purpose, singular direction. We've talked about it, I think it was yesterday or the day before. Same type of thing. And that book, the Silence by E.V. Ingram, talks about that too. A singular focus, attention on a single thing. Right? And you'll be amazed what you can accomplish when you're not trying to entertain 50 different pathways in life, but you focus and you go to accomplish these things. It's pretty amazing what you can do. So, all right. Well, that brings us to the end of the reading today, and it was a fantastic one. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's kind of got me invigorated. That's for sure. Um, this is the type of stuff I really like to read and to pay attention to and to be a part of and incorporate in my life. Right? That's what we do this for, to shift our perspective, to shift our actions, and to change our life with. At least that's what I'm doing this for, and I hope people have found a little bit of help along the way too by me doing this. So thank y'all for joining me again today, and I look forward to tomorrow. So until next time, thanks.